Malik Carter sat in the corner of a dimly lit cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee hanging heavy in the air, mingling with the faint sound of jazz music wafting from the speakers. He fiddled nervously with the edges of his script, the pages worn from countless revisions. Across from him sat a trio of producers, their expressions a blend of boredom and condescension. The cafe was nearly empty, save for a few scattered patrons who seemed more interested in their laptops than in the pitch of a young black filmmaker. "Look, Malik." One of the producers, a middle-aged man with slick-back hair and a tailored suit, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "We appreciate your enthusiasm, but the market is pretty saturated with urban stories right now. It's just not what we're looking for." Malik felt a hot flush creep up his neck. He had spent weeks perfecting this pitch, pouring his heart into a story that reflected the struggles and triumphs of his community. "But this isn't just another urban story," he insisted, his voice steadying with determination. "It's a narrative about resilience, about shared experiences that aren't often told. It's an opportunity to connect with an audience that's been overlooked." The second producer, a woman with sharp features and an air of superiority, rolled her eyes. "You have to understand, Malik. We're looking for something that will draw in the mainstream audience. You know how it is, big names, big budgets. Can you really deliver that?" "I can create something authentic," Malik replied, his passion igniting. "Something that resonates. It doesn't have to be about the flash and glamour. It's about telling a story that matters." The producers exchanged glances, their skepticism palpable. "That sounds noble," the third producer chimed in dismissively. "But noble doesn't pay the bills. We need content that sells." Malik clenched his jaw, suppressing the frustration boiling inside him. He knew the industry's bias, the way it often reduced filmmakers of color to stereotypes. But he also knew he had a story worth telling. "I can't just give up on this," he thought to himself, determination hardening his resolve. As the meeting came to an end, Malik gathered his script, feeling the weight of rejection settle on his shoulders. "Thank you for your time," he said, forcing a polite smile even as his heart sank. He turned to leave, but the middle-aged producer called after him. "Keep trying, Malik. You never know when you might hit the right note." Outside the cafe, the sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the bustling streets of Los Angeles. Malik took a deep breath, inhaling the city's energy, though it felt heavier in that moment. He headed to his small apartment, a modest space that was both a sanctuary and a reminder of the challenges he faced. In the comfort of his living room, Malik was soon joined by his best friend, Jalen. The two had grown up together, sharing dreams of making it in the film industry. "How did it go?" Jalen asked, plopping down on the worn-out couch, his eyes filled with concern. "They didn't get it," Malik replied, frustration lacing his voice. "They think my story isn't marketable enough. They want big names and flashy content, not the truth." "Man, screw them," Jalen exclaimed, leaning forward, his brow furrowed with intensity. "We know what our community needs. Let's make this film ourselves. We don't need their approval." Malik felt a spark ignite within him. "Yeah, but it's going to take a lot of work. We don't have a budget, and I don't want to compromise my vision." "We'll find a way," Jalen said, his voice steady, filled with conviction. "Let's brainstorm. We can pull together a crew, use our resources, and shoot something real. Something that speaks to us." As the two friends dove into brainstorming, ideas flowed like a river, each suggestion building on the last. They talked late into the night, fueled by takeout and the flickering light of a single lamp. For Malik, the pain of rejection began to fade, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. They were going to create something authentic, something that mattered. The next day, buoyed by their plans, Malik decided to attend a local film festival to network and gain inspiration. As he entered the festival, the buzz of excitement enveloped him. He navigated through the crowd, eyes scanning for potential connections, when he spotted Linda Hartman, a powerful studio executive known for her keen eye for talent. "Linda," Malik called out, his heart racing. "I'd love to pitch my script to you if you have a moment." She turned, a polite smile on her face, but he caught a flicker of skepticism in her eyes. "I'm quite busy right now, Malik, but if you want to drop off your script, I'll take a look." "Thank you. I appreciate it." Malik replied, though a gnawing feeling settled in his stomach. He couldn't shake the sense that she wouldn't truly consider his work. As he walked away, a mix of excitement and defeat washed over him. He had taken a step forward, yet the same barriers loomed ahead. Little did he know, the road he was about to travel would challenge everything he believed about the industry he longed to conquer. Malik stood on the sidewalk, looking out at the sun-soaked streets of his neighborhood. The vibrant murals painted on the walls seemed to pulse with life, reflecting the stories of resilience and creativity that thrived within the community. Jalen approached, a determined look on his face. "We can't let this chance slip away, Malik. Let's gather our crew and start filming. This is our moment." Malik nodded, feeling a rush of excitement. "You're right. This film needs to be authentic, to showcase who we really are. We got to capture the heart of this place." They began to brainstorm a list of friends and local artists who could contribute to the film. They envisioned a crew that was as diverse as the neighborhood itself, each member bringing their unique perspective to the project. Later that day, Malik and Jalen gathered their crew in Malik's cramped apartment. The walls were adorned with framed posters of classic films and photographs of their childhood. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as they discussed their roles. "I can handle the cinematography," Jalen said, his eyes gleaming with ambition. "And I'll take care of editing," Malik added, envisioning late nights spent piecing together their story. As the crew finalized their plans, Malik felt a sense of camaraderie enveloping them. "We're not just making a film, we're telling our truth," he declared. Everyone nodded, their resolve strengthening. "Let's meet tomorrow at the park. We can start shooting there," Jalen suggested, and the group erupted in agreement. The following day, the sun streamed through the trees as Malik's crew set up their equipment in the park. Children laughed in the background, and the smell of food from nearby vendors wafted through the air. Malik positioned the camera, capturing the laughter and joy of the community. "This is what it's all about," he said, grinning widely. "Let's show them our beauty." As they filmed, Malik felt a surge of pride. They captured the essence of their lives, the struggles, the joys, the unity. Each scene resonated with authenticity, a stark contrast to the superficial narratives often portrayed in mainstream cinema. But beneath the exhilaration lay an undercurrent of anxiety. Malik couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was about to take a turn. Weeks later, Malik received a letter from Linda Hartman, the studio executive he had met at the film festival. His heart raced as he opened it, revealing an invitation for a meeting. "This could be huge," he murmured, but a sense of caution crept in. Jalen leaned over, reading the letter. "Just be careful, man. Remember how she was at the festival?" Malik nodded, the memory of her skeptical gaze still fresh in his mind. "I know, but it's hard to ignore an opportunity like this." The day of the meeting arrived, and Malik found himself sitting across from Linda in a sleek conference room. The walls were adorned with accolades and posters of blockbusters, a stark reminder of the industry's biases. Linda leaned back in her chair, her fingers steepled under her chin. "I've been following your project," she began, her tone measured. "I see potential, Malik. I'd like to offer you funding to expand your film." Malik's heart raced with a mix of excitement and wariness. "That sounds incredible, but what's the catch?" Linda smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We'll need to make some changes. You'll have to cater to mainstream tastes. Audiences want something they can relate to, something that sells." He felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. "But that's not what this film is about. I want to tell our story, our way." Linda's expression hardened. "You can't afford to be naive. This is Hollywood. Compromise is necessary for success." Malik's pulse quickened, feeling the pressure of her expectations. "I understand," he said slowly, trying to mask his frustration. "I'll consider your suggestions." As he left the office, he felt a heaviness in his chest. He had walked into the meeting with hope, but emerged feeling as though his vision was slipping away. Walking back to his apartment, Malik replayed the conversation in his mind. How could he maintain the integrity of his film while appeasing someone like Linda? He glanced at the bustling streets around him, the vibrant community he loved. He couldn't let them down. But as he stared at the familiar faces passing by, He wondered if the path to success required sacrificing the very essence of what he aimed to portray. The sound of hushed whispers and soft applause filled the small, independent theater as Malik Carter's film flickered to life on the screen. The room, dimly lit yet vibrant with the energy of eager faces, bore witness to the struggles and triumphs of a community often overlooked by the mainstream film industry. Malik sat in the back, his heart racing as he absorbed the audience's reactions. Critically, he had poured every ounce of his being into this project, and now it was being received with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. As the credits rolled, the applause grew louder, and Malik couldn't help but crack a smile. He exchanged glances with Jalen, who sat beside him, his face lit with excitement. "Did you see that? They loved it," Jalen exclaimed, his voice barely containing his enthusiasm. "Yeah, but let's not get ahead of ourselves," Malik replied, trying to temper his excitement with a sense of realism. "Hollywood still doesn't care about films like ours." True to his words, as they walked out of the theater, Malik overheard snippets of conversations that confirmed his fears. A group of industry insiders casually dismissed the film, opting instead to discuss the latest blockbuster that had just dropped. "It's just another indie flick," one of them scoffed. "Nothing to write home about." Malik's heart sank. Despite the audience's response, he felt the crushing weight of Hollywood's indifference. "They just don't get it," he muttered, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. Later that evening, as Malik sat in his apartment, the phone rang. The familiar voice of a prominent film critic echoed through the receiver, filling him with a renewed sense of hope. "Malik, I loved your film. I'd like to invite you to a larger screening next week. This could be your big break." Malik's mind raced. "Really? You think it could attract more attention?" "Absolutely. It's raw, it's real, and it's exactly what the industry needs right now," the critic replied, enthusiasm evident in his tone. Just as Malik felt the flicker of optimism reignite, he remembered Linda Hartman. Her presence loomed larger than life, a reminder of the challenges he faced. "Thank you so much for the opportunity," he said, "but I have to be cautious. Linda Hartman is still in the picture, and I fear she might try to undermine me." "Keep your head up, Malik. Stay focused on your vision," the critic advised before hanging up. Days later, excitement and anxiety mingled as Malik arrived at the larger screening. The venue was bustling with industry elites, and he felt the palpable tension in the air. As he took his seat, he noticed Linda seated a few rows ahead. Her sharp gaze seemed to scan the crowd, and Malik's heart raced. He couldn't shake the feeling that she was plotting something. When the time came for the Q&A session, Malik felt a wave of anticipation wash over him. He was ready to speak about his film, to share his story and the stories of his community. However, as he stood before the audience, Linda raised her hand, cutting through the excitement. "Can you explain the relevance of your film in today's context?" she asked, her tone dripping with skepticism. Malik's stomach churned. "It's about authenticity and representation," he replied, trying to hold his ground. "It reflects the experiences of many who feel unheard and unseen." But Linda was relentless. "Yet, some might argue that it alienates mainstream audiences, don't you think?" The crowd shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension. Malik clenched his fists, his mind racing. "I believe that true stories resonate with everyone, regardless of background," he shot back, his voice steady yet strained. The Q&A continued, but Malik could feel the energy draining from the room, the audience caught in the crossfire of Linda's skepticism and his determination. After the session, he exited the venue, feeling defeated. The weight of her words hung heavily on his shoulders. As he walked through the bustling streets of Los Angeles, Malik felt a wave of despair wash over him. It was then that he heard a familiar voice calling out his name. He turned to see a group from his neighborhood approaching, their faces filled with warmth and solidarity. "Malik, we saw your film. It was amazing," one of them exclaimed, pulling him into a hug. "Yeah, we're proud of you, man," another added. "Your story matters." Their support washed over Malik like a bomb, reigniting the flame within him. "Thank you, really. I needed to hear that," he admitted, his voice cracking with emotion. "We've all faced struggles," one woman said, her eyes shining with determination. Your film gave a voice to our experiences. We're here for you always." With each word of encouragement, Malik felt the darkness begin to lift. He realized that even in the face of adversity, his community was his greatest strength. They stood united, reminding him of the importance of his story and the power of resilience. "I won't give up," he declared, a newfound determination resonating within him. "We'll keep fighting for our voices to be heard." Malik Carter stood on the small stage of the community center, bathed in soft light that contrasted with the intensity of the moment. The panel discussion had drawn a diverse crowd, eager to hear stories of struggle and triumph in the film industry. As he adjusted the microphone, he could feel a mixture of excitement and anxiety pulsing through him. Just a few months ago, he had been fighting to make his voice heard. Now, he was a beacon of hope for many who felt overlooked. "Thank you all for being here," Malik began, his voice steady yet passionate. "It's time we demand stories that reflect the true tapestry of our experiences, not just the ones that fit into neat little boxes." He could see nods of agreement ripple through the audience, and his heart swelled with encouragement. A young woman in the front row raised her hand. "How do you deal with the pressure to conform to industry standards?" she asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Malik took a deep breath, recalling the countless meetings with Linda Hartman and the compromises he had reluctantly made. "You have to know your worth. I've learned that staying true to my vision is non-negotiable. The moment you start changing your story to make others comfortable, you lose the essence of what makes it yours." The audience erupted in applause, and he felt a surge of energy. As the discussion continued, Malik felt like he was igniting something within the room, an understanding, a shared struggle. He spoke about the grassroots movement that had sparked around his film, how social media had amplified voices that had long been silenced. "Our stories matter, and they deserve to be told," he concluded, his voice ringing with conviction. Meanwhile, in a sleek office high above the bustling streets of Los Angeles, Linda Hartman paced nervously. The panel had been a turning point for Malik, and she could feel the ground shifting beneath her. The grassroots movement was gaining momentum, and with each passing day, Malik's influence seemed to grow. She couldn't let him overshadow her plans. She needed to act. "Give me everything you can on Malik Carter," she snapped into her phone, her tone sharp. "I want to know about his past, his connections, anything that can discredit him." As she hung up, a dark smile crept across her face. If she could tarnish his image, perhaps she could stop the upheaval he was causing in the industry. Back at the community center, Malik was wrapping up the panel, feeling invigorated by the support and energy in the room. He mingled with attendees, listening to their stories and dreams. The sense of community filled him with hope. Just then, he received a text from Jalen. "Have you heard the rumors? People are saying things about you. Stay on guard." His heart sank. Malik willed himself to ignore the anxiety creeping in. He trusted his community, and he trusted his story. He was determined not to let Linda's machinations derail him. "I can't worry about that right now," he muttered to himself, shaking his head. As the evening wore on, Malik received a call that made his heart race. It was from a big-name actor, someone he had admired for years. "Hey, Malik, I saw your film, and I think we could create something amazing together. Let's chat about collaborating," the actor said, enthusiasm radiating through the phone. Malik felt a rush of exhilaration. This was the opportunity he had dreamed of, but a shadow of caution also loomed over him. He knew too well how quickly things could turn in Hollywood. "Absolutely, I'd love to," he replied, trying to keep his excitement in check. After hanging up, he stared into the distance, contemplating the implications of this new development. With Linda's threats still looming, he couldn't afford to let his guard down. He needed to be strategic, to navigate this landscape carefully. As he looked around the community center, filled with faces that reflected resilience and hope, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Malik was not just a filmmaker. He was a voice for change, and he would not back down. The night ended with a sense of camaraderie, but Malik couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing. He had to remain vigilant. The industry was ruthless, and Linda was not the type to go down without a fight. As he stepped out into the cool Los Angeles night, he felt the weight of his mission pressing upon him. His journey was far from over, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The festival buzzed with excitement, the air thick with anticipation as filmmakers, critics, and stars gathered to celebrate the art of cinema. Malik Carter stood backstage, heart racing, as he waited for his film's nomination to be announced. He could hear the cheers and laughter from the audience, but all he could focus on was the moment his name would be called. His film, a raw reflection of his community's struggles and triumphs, had been nominated for several prestigious awards. For him, this was not just a moment of personal achievement, but a victory for everyone who had supported him throughout his journey. "Malik, you ready?" Jalen asked, peeking through the curtain. His wide grin was infectious, but Malik felt a knot in his stomach. "Yeah, just a little nervous," Malik admitted, running a hand through his hair. "What if they don't like it? They already do, man. Just look around. Your community is here, and they believe in you," Jalen replied, placing a comforting hand on Malik's shoulder. "No matter what happens, you've already won." As Malik stepped onto the stage to present his film, he caught sight of Linda Hartman sitting in the front row, her expression inscrutable. The tension between them was palpable. He sensed her presence like a dark cloud looming over his moment of triumph. The awards ceremony moved briskly, each presenter adding to the excitement. When it was finally time to announce the winners for Best Director, Malik's heart pounded in his chest. "And the award goes to Malik Carter," the announcer proclaimed. The applause was thunderous as Malik walked to the podium, absorbing the moment. He glanced at Linda, who sat rigid, her eyes narrowed. He could almost see the gears turning in her head, plotting her next move. As he took the microphone, the reality of the moment washed over him. "Thank you. Thank you so much," Malik began, his voice steady. "This film is a testament to the stories that often go unheard. It's about resilience, hope, and the beauty of our communities. For too long, Hollywood has overlooked the voices of people like us. But we are here, and we are not going anywhere." He paused, soaking in the applause. "To everyone who believed in me, who stood by me during the tough times, thank you. This award is for you. We need more stories that reflect our realities, our struggles, and our triumphs. It's time for more representation in film." The audience erupted in cheers, and Malik felt an overwhelming wave of support. But as he looked back at Linda, her lips pressed into a thin line, he could see her frustration boiling beneath the surface. She was not the type to take defeat lightly. After the ceremony, the energy was electric. Malik was surrounded by friends and supporters, each congratulating him, their voices blending into a harmonious chorus of celebration. Yet, in the midst of the jubilation, he overheard a conversation that sent chills down his spine. "Can you believe he won? This is absurd. We need to figure out a way to discredit him before he gets too big," Linda hissed to a couple of executives, her voice low but fierce. Malik's heart raced as he leaned closer, straining to catch every word. "We can't let this go unchallenged. If he keeps gaining traction, it could ruin everything we've built." He stepped back, the weight of her words crashing over him like a wave. It was clear, Linda was plotting to undermine him, to erase everything he had worked so hard for. The realization ignited a fire within him. He couldn't let her do this. He needed to confront her head-on. "Did you hear that?" Jalen asked, noticing the look on Malik's face. "We have to do something." Malik nodded, determination setting in. "I will confront her. She can't keep getting away with this." As the evening wore on and the celebrations continued, Malik's mind raced with thoughts of how to approach Linda. He needed to be strategic to catch her off guard. But more importantly, he had to ensure that the voices of his community were not drowned out by her underhanded tactics. He would not allow her to rewrite his story. "Let's go find her," Malik said, his voice resolute. With Jalen by his side, Malik navigated through the crowd, the vibrant energy of the festival now feeling like a battlefield. He spotted Linda, surrounded by a group of executives, her demeanor exuding authority. Taking a deep breath, he approached her, Jalen close behind. "Linda," Malik said, his voice steady. "We need to talk." Her eyes narrowed as she recognized him, the the tension thickening the air between them. "What do you want, Malik? I know what you're planning, and I won't let you undermine my work. This isn't just about me. It's about everyone who has been silenced in this industry," Malik declared, his voice firm. Linda's expression shifted, a mix of annoyance and disbelief. "You think you could just waltz in here and threaten me? You're in over your head." "Maybe, but I have the support of my community, and they won't let you win," he replied, feeling the energy of those around him. "This is our time, and I won't let you take that away from us." The confrontation hung in the air, an electric tension crackling between them. Malik realized that this was just the beginning of a much larger fight, one that extended far beyond his own success. He was ready to face whatever came next. Malik Carter sat at the sleek conference table of Hartman Studios, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him, the air thick with tension as he prepared to confront Linda Hartman. The walls of the room felt like they were closing in, adorned with glossy posters of blockbuster films that had little to do with his world. He glanced up at Linda, who sat across from him, her demeanor icy and composed. She had always been a formidable presence, but today, Malik was determined to hold his ground. "Linda, we need to talk," Malik started, his voice steady despite the rapid beating of his heart. "I know what you've been doing. The tactics you've used to undermine my film and others like it. It ends today." Linda raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on her lips. "Undermine? Malik, you're being dramatic. I'm just looking out for the studio's interests. By spreading lies about my past? By attempting to discredit not just me, but other filmmakers of color? That's not looking out for anyone but yourself." Malik leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "I have evidence, and I'm not afraid to use it." The smirk faded from Linda's face as a flicker of concern crossed her features. "Evidence? What do you think you have? It's your word against mine, and I have the power here." "Power doesn't protect you from the truth," Malik replied, his voice unwavering. "I've spoken to others who've suffered because of your actions. You've used your influence to silence voices that deserve to be heard." Linda's expression hardened, and she crossed her arms defensively. "You think you can take me down? You're just a small-time filmmaker. You don't know how this industry works." "Maybe I don't, but I know how to tell a story," Malik shot back. "And my story is one of resilience, of communities standing up against oppression. You can't keep hiding behind your corporate facade forever." Outside the studio, Malik's supporters had gathered, their chants rising in volume, echoing through the glass doors. "Accountability for Linda. Representation matters." Their voices blended into a powerful chorus, and Malik felt a surge of strength from the energy they brought. He knew they were out there for him, fighting against the very system that sought to keep them down. Linda glanced nervously at the door, the commotion outside seeping into the room. "This is a mistake, Malik. You're playing a dangerous game." "No, Linda," Malik said, his tone firm. "You're the one who underestimated the power of the community you've tried to suppress. The truth is coming out, and you can't stop that." As the confrontation escalated, Malik could see cracks forming in Linda's armor. The news of her unethical practices was already beginning to leak, the whispers growing louder. He felt a thrill of hope as he continued. "You may have built your empire on the backs of others, but empires built on oppression are destined to fall." Malik stood tall, his determination radiating from him like a beacon. The chants outside grew louder, drowning out the uncertainty that had once filled him. He could feel the tide turning, not just for himself, but for all those who had faced similar struggles in the industry. Meanwhile, Linda's face paled as she realized the gravity of her situation. "You think this is about you? This is about the entire industry. You'll ruin everything." "No, Linda, you've already done that. But now there's a movement rising, one that won't back down," Malik replied, his voice calm yet resolute. "And I will not let you silence me or anyone else ever again." With that, he stood up, straightening his jacket as he prepared to leave. He could hear the distant sound of sirens, the press likely arriving to cover the protests outside. Malik knew that this was just the beginning. As he stepped out of the conference room, he caught a glimpse of his supporters, their faces filled with hope and determination. The atmosphere was electric as the news about Linda's unethical practices began to circulate. Headlines flashed across television screens and social media feeds, and Malik's film was suddenly thrust into the spotlight. The community's fight for representation was not just a personal battle anymore. It was a cultural phenomenon. In a shocking twist, Linda was forced to resign amid the scandal, her empire crumbling under the weight of her own misdeeds. As Malik watched the news unfold, he felt a mix of triumph and vindication. He had not only gained recognition for his work, but had also ignited a crucial conversation about representation in Hollywood. Standing in the midst of his supporters, Malik realized that their collective power had changed the narrative. Together, they had broken boundaries, proving that perseverance, honesty, and community could indeed shatter the barriers that had long held them back.